This isn't about playing games. It's not about acting cold, distant, or arrogant. It's about remembering who the hell you are. Because somewhere along the line, many men forget. They trade in their power for approval, their presence for performance, their fire for comfort, and suddenly, they wonder why she pulled away, why the energy shifted, why her eyes don't light up like they used to. But here's the truth, you were never meant to chase. You were meant to stand, still, solid, rooted in who you are. When a man embodies his core masculine, not as a role, but as a reality, he doesn't beg, he doesn't plead, he simply is. A real man doesn't ask for love, he becomes the embodiment of it. He doesn't seek validation, he walks aligned with his mission, his strength, and his values. And when he does, the world, including her, feels it. So if you've lost that edge, that fire, don't wait for permission to reignite it. Because the moment you remember your power, she will too. Masculine energy leads, feminine energy follows. This is one of the deepest truths and the hardest pill to swallow if you don't get it. Women aren't drawn to fancy words or elaborate promises. They don't fall for, "I swear I'll change," or "I have a 5-year plan." She doesn't listen with her ears, she feels you. If you're shaky, unsure of yourself, if you hesitate, if you let fear creep into your tone, your choices, your direction, you've already lost the core of your masculine attraction. She doesn't need you to be perfect, but she needs you to be anchored. When you wobble, she wobbles. When you doubt yourself, she second guesses your path. But when you stand firm, like a mountain, unshaken by the wind, grounded in your truth, she melts, she flows toward you like water. Not because you forced her, but because you invited her with presence. Feminine energy doesn't crave control. It craves security to surrender. And real masculine energy isn't about domination. It's about direction, vision, creating a path and walking it with power and grace. You don't need to perform. You don't need to pretend. You just need to become the clearest, strongest version of yourself, and she will follow. Not out of obligation, but because she's drawn by something she can't explain but can't resist. Her emotions follow your frame. You're the frame, she's the picture. If your life is unstable, if you're reactive, needy, or emotionally fragile, she'll become chaotic, cold, or emotionally shut down. Women don't want to lead the dance. When your frame is weak, she's forced to take charge. But that's not where her soul wants to live. She doesn't want to be the captain. She wants to be the current. If you live in confusion, uncertainty, and lack of control, her emotions will reflect that in distance, rebellion, or deep disconnect. But when you build a life grounded in clarity, purpose, and inner mission, she lights up just by being near you. She doesn't need your money. She doesn't need your looks. She needs your structure, your stability, your depth. And that structure only comes when you stop chasing comfort and start becoming the man you're meant to be. Be the man who knows who he is, where he's going, and why it matters. When you are the frame, firm and grounded, she becomes the art, radiant, alive, and free in your presence. She tests to feel safe. She doesn't test you to destroy you, she tests you to feel secure. It's the deep feminine instinct at work, searching for safety, for strength, for something solid to lean into when her emotions feel like a storm. When she throws emotional curveballs, when she's cold or unpredictable, it's not an attack. It's a quiet question. Are you strong enough to hold this? If you react with anger, withdrawal, or frustration, she senses weakness, not because you're bad, but because in that moment, you've shown her that her emotions overpower your presence. And if she can't trust your strength, she can't rest in your love. But if you stand tall, calm, centered, and unfazed, she feels your core. You become the eye in her storm. And when a woman feels truly held in that way, she no longer needs to test. She softens, she melts, she trusts, and that's when the deepest connection begins. The moment you chase, she runs. The moment you start chasing, she pulls away, not because she's playing games, but because something primal shifts. You've stopped leading and started reacting. And when a man reacts instead of leads, he gives away his power. In that moment, you've placed her at the center of your direction, instead of inviting her into yours. A high-value woman doesn't want to steer the relationship. She doesn't want to be the one pulling you forward. She wants to feel the strength of a man who knows where he's going. With or without her, when you chase, what you're really saying is, I need you to feel whole. But she wants to join a man who already feels whole, and who invites her to walk beside him. Not ahead of him. Stop chasing, start leading, because it's not your pursuit that draws her in, it's your presence. Your calm, your certainty, that quiet knowing in your eyes that says, this is who I am. This is where I'm headed. You're welcome to come along. That's what makes her stay. Not pressure, not neediness, but a grounded man who doesn't lose his center, no matter how beautiful she is or how far she pulls away. A true man is the root, not the reflection. A man with real presence doesn't ask, what kind of man do women like? He is the kind of man women like, not because he tries to be, but because he lives by values forged from within. Principles, integrity, inner compass. He doesn't need the world's approval to feel solid. He already is. He's not chasing standards, he's setting them, through how he holds himself, how he keeps his word, how he walks away from what's easy when it violates what's right. People admire him not because he performs, but because he embodies something rare, authentic conviction. Women feel this deeply. They feel when a man moves from his core, when his boundaries aren't for show but are born of self-respect. He doesn't try to fit in, he defines the space. So if you want to be the kind of man she can't stop thinking about, don't shape yourself to be chosen. Become the kind of man who chooses himself. My friend, the world doesn't need more men afraid of rejection, loneliness, or losing love. It needs men who have the courage to be real. Men who don't beg, men who don't break, men who stand tall in their truth. We need men who know who they are, who move with purpose, not with fear. When you hold your ground like a mountain, when your life is led by vision, clarity, and inner strength, you don't chase approval. You become the standard. A real man never begs. He becomes the standard. If these words struck a chord deep within you, drop a comment below, like this video, share it with a brother who needs to hear this, and subscribe to Shining Mirror-LVB to follow more soul-stirring content on masculinity, mastery, and the journey to becoming the man you were born to be.